Welcome to NCBA's Cattleman's Call podcast with host Lane Nordland.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cattleman's Call podcast. Lane Nordland here joining you from the brisk state of Montana. Fall is in full swing. We had snow up on the high elevations the other day in some pastures, so looking forward to some fall weather here in Montana. And from Montana, we're going to go down to Missouri, the state right in front of us in terms of alphabetical order on the map. But we are joined today by the Keesaman family with KK Farms Red Angus out of Osborne, Missouri. Joining us here today is Ken and his sons, Kraig and Kody. And I'm excited about our conversation today because not only do we get to talk about cattle, but also a venture that the operation has taken in terms of producing wine in that part of the nation as well. But as I mentioned, it's a little brisk up here in the Big Sky State. But Ken, how are things in Missouri here today?
Well, we were blessed with an inch of rain last night, and the last 6 weeks, 2 months, been in a pretty bad drought and very dusty. It's hurt some of the crops. We had really good hay, really good grass, but it's really told on it. And that's kind of what a little chill in the air makes you feel like fall, But we've had some warm temperatures.
Yep. And how much precip do you usually get a year down in your neck of the woods?
Well, usually not enough. I don't know what the average rainfall is, boys. 28 inches, maybe. I don't know. But we don't need a lot of rain. We need timely rains. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've gotten them. And I don't like to mow the yard, but when I have to mow the yard, that means the cows got grass. So.
Well, that's good too. We got about 3/4 of an inch, I think Saturday night up here. We've had very good fall moisture, late summer moisture in our neck of the woods. We had a great podcast with meteorologist Matt Makins a few weeks back for our listeners. Go listen to that and learn more about why we actually had so much rain in the northern tier states this summer. You'll learn something because I sure did, and it dealt with wildfire smoke. But getting back to Ken, Kraig, and Kody. I mentioned that not only do you have Red Angus down there, but you also have a wine company as well. But before we jump into that, Kody, I'll let you introduce yourself as well. The cattle are more your realm. How are the cattle shaping up here this fall?
The cattle's looking real good. We've, like everybody else, would like to have as much pounds as we could on cattle. Some commercial guys around here, the cattle's been really good. We've had some good interest lately on bull sales. Fall guys are needing bulls, getting ready to turn out in, a month, 6 weeks. And seems like the phone's been ringing off the hook, which is good in the purebred business. So cattle is looking really good.
Good. Well, I mean, it's hard to complain about these prices right now. We all know the factors that have went into, especially for cow-calf producers, your customers. It's great that they're making a little money too. That always makes you feel good around bull sale time too, that folks got a little money in their pocket to buy some good genetics too.
Yes, it does. And, it's one of those deals that it doesn't matter what breed of cattle it is. I kind of look at it. I'm glad when everybody's having good sales, regardless of what flavor. Kind of the deal down here is mutual funds around here means everybody's having a good time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the way we look at it. So.
Yep. Ken, jumping back to you, share a little bit about the history of your family operation.
Okay, there's a lot of history from this area back in the locating northwest Missouri, I guess, and some people might want to know where Osborne is. We're 20 east of St. Joe, or about 11 miles west of Cameron. So that kind of give you an idea of what hour and a half to Iowa or whatever. And we were. I thank God my great grandpa stopped here instead of going on somewhere else. But he got some ground out between the little town of Stewartsville and Osborne in the 1870s. and stopped there right off the old Hannibal St. Joe Railroad, and which brings a lot of history to this part of the state with Jesse James and cattle drives and all that, But we're into the fourth, fifth, sixth generations of us live here on the outfit. Feed cows every day. Kody's got a son, Colton, that's he's showing cattle right now to some guys from Tennessee. We've stayed here and been sustainable, not rich, but sustainable, I guess my great granddad passed away in '04, and on his sale bill was quite a few head of cattle. And something was kind of odd on that also, though, that I always thought was kind of interesting, was a horned Hereford bull. And we have messed around with history, which I'm a history buff, and the bull come from Illinois. We found the name of him and the registration number in 1898. He bought him from a breeder in Illinois. I don't think he drove halfway across the state with his pickup and trailer, and they back trailers together. So it would have come on the Hannibal St. Joe Railroad. So a little history there, I guess, of doing purebred stuff that Kody and I do monthly, and meeting people. And we made a 900-mile swing just last week, dropped 4 bulls in Arkansas, and got to see a lot of country that way. We've the history of the deal. We've met a lot of people and enjoyed that. The farm we've kind of grown. We have some of the ground that my great grandfather had. Some of it's gotten out of the family, but we have quite a bit of it put back together and have added on to it. So we're glad it's a place where our family can continue to grow and stay in the purebred business.
So how long have you been raising purebred Red Angus?
My wife Brenda and I rented a farm, and we needed a little bit more grass. And my dad had talked to a guy, and his son had a dozen cows, and the deal was that we had to use his Red Angus bull and his 12 cows, and we took them on in March on a share deal, and we bought them in September from him. So 72. I think about 72 is when it was, and so we've been at it a long time. And when they call the Red Angus Association, the young lady that answers the phone will say, "Well, now, Mr. Keesaman, what's your number?" And I will tell them, and they said, "Oh no, it's like a 6-digit number, And I said, mine's 3, So we're probably the oldest registered Red Angus herd in the state of Missouri.
And why does the Red Angus cattle? Why do Red Angus cattle fit your environment so well?
Well, I think red cattle work really well in the heat. We've kind of bred them for the fescue that we have the problems with in here. We keep a closed herd since back. We haven't bought anything. I think Kody bought 3 or 4 heifers from Nebraska in 13 or 14, and other than that, we've stayed our own herd. We change herd bulls, and we have several different herds, and we try the different bloodlines together, and they've worked really well for us.
And Kody, for yourself, how important is it to continue a legacy? And as your dad said, your son's out showing some cattle right now to some prospective customers. How important is it just to keep family in this, but also good quality cattle, all the part of a family business?
Well, I think it's everybody's dream or goal as a father to have a son follow in footsteps. Maybe not be the guy that does the breeding or the selection of the bulls, but maybe the guy that you can call and say, "Hey, what's your opinion on it?" And I think it's very good. I know a lot of people would love the opportunity to do it. When I was in college, there was a lot of friends of mine that were like, "I would give anything to be where you're at." maybe grandpa had the farm, but mom and dad lived in town, or they grew up in FFA. They didn't have the chance. I guess looking another way to look at it, I would like to see maybe some older retiring farmers, due to the price of cattle, that maybe they don't have an heir to come in and help or take over the business. Maybe let the neighbor kid try. He can do a deal. Younger people can provide the labor. The gray hair can still provide the wisdom maybe on it. Sometimes you're going to butt heads a little bit. There's set in your ways and the new ways to do it. But, there's, as they say, there's, 2 + 2 = 4, but so is 3 + 1. There's more ways to do it. So.
Well, I've left Kraig out of the conversation here so far. Sorry about that, Kraig, but
That's
I
all
wanted
right.
to get wanted to get a little history on the family operation there. And how did a winery come into a conversation? What led up to this?
Well, I was finishing my college at Missouri Western in St. Joe, and I knew I wanted to do something back on the farm, but I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to commit to cattle and row crop and hogs and whatever else was familiar growing up with. So at the time, I was experimenting around and making some beers and wines at home with some kits that I had gotten from one of the jobs I worked at, and then just kept expanding until finally my wife at the time was like, we should probably consider selling this instead of just making it and giving it away. So I went and had the hard conversation with Dad about wanting to start a winery here on the farm, which it's always a challenge to introduce something new and completely different to an established place. But after giving, I think I convinced him up with the details and the plans that we had drawn up, and then just looking and talking to other wineries that were also based on agricultural farms or century farms or whatnot, helped get that off the ground. So in 2009, we started the Windy Wine Company here on original homestead ground, part of the original homestead ground here on the farm, and we've been running ever since.
And what is the climate like to grow wines? Is it I know in Montana we only have about 2 areas that have a long enough season to try and get a crop raised. But what are the growing conditions like, and how do the vines do?
Oh, we're Missouri, so we deal with extreme heat and extreme cold. We can't grow a lot of the same commercial grapes like, say, California, or the more commercially known grapes, especially here in America. We grow a lot of different varietals that are, bred for this type of temperature, this type of climate, shorter growing seasons and whatnot, less Mediterranean style and more Midwest. And so that's where our industry, the Missouri wines, even Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, our neighbors, have kind of developed their own flavors and varietals of grapes that we market as not being the cabs that you see on the store, but the Nortons, that is the Missouri State grape and what you'll see at most Missouri wineries or Midwest wineries. So it's definitely a different environment for growing grapes.
And so what are some of the types of wines that you really specialize in?
Well, here we specialize in a lot of fruit wines because we can grow a lot of fruit here in Missouri really well. I do a lot of fun flavors. I'm a chef also, so I like to experiment with doing different things with different food items or flavors. So, for example, one of our most popular, probably what we're most famously known for, is a peanut butter and jelly wine, which is it sounds crazy, but it's super popular. It's Concord grapes, which is what grape jelly is made out of, and then dry roasted peanuts is what it's flavored with, and it's like drinking a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I said it's insanely popular. So we do things like that. White chocolate strawberry. We're always experimenting with things. We just released a jalapeno pineapple wine for a short run. So we try to add variety and fun to what we do, because we are limited on some of the types of grapes and things that we can produce here and grow.
Mango chili.
Mango chili lime is a really popular one. It's our most popular one. And unfortunately, we can't grow the mangoes here, but I'm working on it, trying to figure out an alternative.
So Ken, for yourself, were you much of a wine drinker before this venture started?
No, we leave that to Grandma. He come to Brenda and I and wanted to know if what this sounded like, and we reached out to some people and we decided what better than Bull's Beef and Booze business. So and it's kind of caught on, and he's done a tremendous job. I don't know, he didn't get it from us, but he's done an excellent job on all these different flavors, and award winning, several medals. I know a couple of two or three past presidents. NCBA has sure enjoyed the Angus Red with the cow on the label, and we've had a lot of fun with that, bringing it in. The family jumps in on big occasions, and we just kind of tie it into the farm that way. But it's been an undertaking, I guess, and I don't know how he has been able to tell. I know they had him sit in and be quiet one time and sit in as they judged the wines, and he called me and he says, "Hey, I know I've got a best of class." And I said, "Well, how'd you know?" "I could taste it." And there were 60 wines in that class. So, wine's wine to me, but boy, not to a lot of people. And we get hundreds of people in here on the farm every year.
What has that been like, though, where folks are coming in mainly to try or buy wine, but also having an experience on a multi-generational farm? How have all three of you taken that opportunity as an educational opportunity, a marketing opportunity for both protein and drink, and really helped set the family up for success?
Well, it has, and it's worked really well. You come buy a bull from us, you get a bottle of wine. So, and we've had several calls. "Hey, would you be open this day? My wife wants to try your wines." And so we drop her off at the winery and we go look at bulls. But it's worked good. And of course, the meat sales, we sell the beef here, the meat sticks. It's branched out. There's a lot of people know that we have Bull's Beef and Booze, and it's helped off all three factors of what KK Farms is all about.
Well, and the other deal, Kraig and I have tried to do more of a farm to table type setup deal. We're getting a lot of people from the Kansas City area coming up. They're trying his wines. They can get the wines down in the Kansas City area where he's got it distributed in some Hy-Vee stores around there. And once they come up, "Oh, you mean I can buy a farm fresh steak? I can buy this. Now, what's the difference between what you're selling to what I'm buying?" And sometimes it's kind of like talking to a wall. Trying to explain to them, but most of the time, if I can get them to buy that roast, that package of steaks, maybe 2 or 3 packages of hamburger, they're going to be calling back, "Hey, I want a half a beef," or me and my neighbor want a half a beef. Me and Dad want to split a half a beef. Go from there, and it's just a way for us to get our foot in the door to promote it, and it's a way for us to. Our main deal is the breeding stock, but it's a way for us to get rid of market kind of what we call our off cattle, maybe the bull that wasn't good enough to be considered as a breeding potential, or maybe had a calf with a bad eye, but the genetics are there. It's just a way to put a little extra premium on something.
So all your registered stock, you don't have a separate commercial herd that you market on a video at all. You're just trying to keep everything within the registered realm and then market that beef. Is that my correct assumption?
Yeah, we do have some commercial herds. Most of them are either lower end older cows that are registered, or we'll have some cows that are purebred. I do have some cows that I bought from my grandfather. And years ago, everything was Hereford. So they've got some white face and some Hereford influence in them. But, we do everything private treaty sales.
Okay.
And so that way we don't have to worry that I've got to have 65 perfect bulls for the 15th of October for a sale and, go from there. Or I don't have the guy going, well, call me when a week after the sale's over so I can get the ones that didn't sell.
Yeah.
And that way I'd rather say, this is the price we would like to have for the cattle, instead of here's my best bull. Now what do you give me? And one gentleman told Dad years ago, he said, you're in the bull business when a customer comes up and offers you $700 for your top bull, $200 over steer price. And that's about the way, it is.
And for your customers, are most, what is the majority? Are they fall calvers or spring calvers in your part of the nation?
Basically about 50-50, but most of the older guys are moving to that fall situation. They like it that calf's 200 to 300 pounds when the snow hits, or the main part of the winter. And of course, the average age of the cattle rancher now, they say 65, which is probably closer to 75 or more, age wise. And, I'm not going to lie. There's days I don't want to get up when it's 0 out and check cows and go feed. But,
Lane, that's something that has changed in this country. There was never any fall calvers. And it's changed, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The last 2 trips we made in the last month, to South Missouri with some bulls, they've started fall calving in different places, and it's not as cold a winter down there. Yeah, they'll have storms, but we see a lot more of that. And also for us, if we have a registered heifer and she has a little problem and a little harder to breed back, sometimes we'll hold them over and make a fall or a spring out of her, and works good. Works good that way. But I see more of that. And years ago we didn't. You either had spring or first day of March they'd start calving, and that's what the older
just
ones
a way for us to get more use out of our herd bulls.
Mm-hmm. We can flip flop them some bulls we give some money for, and it works. It works out.
What are some goals or things that you're looking at for the future of your Red Angus herd? What obviously Kody, your son, wants to be involved. It sounds like too. But what are some family goals you have for the breed and for genetics? Whether that's here at home, maybe exporting some of those genetics or abroad too. What are some of those things you're really thinking about, and what you're talking about over a glass of wine at the kitchen table at night?
Well, actually, I think the Red Angus breed that I've seen, that the time that I've been involved of it, it's really grown, but it keeps growing. Guys are finding out the heat tolerance on them, is a little better than the black-hided cattle, regardless of what flavor. They cross great with Simmental. They cross great with the Charolais. The guys in the southern United States are finding out that the red cattle on top of the Brahma influenced cattle is working really good. Florida's got a great, those guys are really starting to look. We've exported bulls to Mexico, and we sent a bull and 2 heifers back in June to the Bahamas. So this is something that the breed itself is growing. There's probably more diversity within a breed than there is between the breeds. Unfortunately, the Red Angus now, a lot of guys are looking into the Black Angus sires to get new herd sires and new blood into the reds. This works good for us. There's guys that, you can put a black bull on a Hereford and you can get along great with some F1 Baldies. You can do the same with the Reds. You can't hide as much with red-hided cattle as you can with black cattle. And that's what a lot of guys are kind of finding out. They had problem with the mousy grays, with the Simmentals, and they found out that the Reds didn't have that diluter gene in them. And you're still complementing, even if you use a 3-breed rotation, you're still getting the best of all 3 breeds you're using. They complement a lot of other breeds very well.
I guess my part of your question, I guess, on what we look forward to. Since I'm the older generation sitting here, I think building relationship with customers. We've dealt with 4 or 5 a year ago, or 2-3 years ago. We have a booth at Kansas City Farm Show. I met one farm family 100 miles from here. They asked about bulls. They asked about heifers. They wanted a place where they could go do that. The next year, I met the next generation. The next year, they called all 3 of them. We had the 3 generations of us dealing with 3 generations of that family. We become friends. We visit, about cattle. We've sold them bulls. We've sold them heifers. And a lot of people that we deal with does not want the registration papers. We keep everything up as much as we can, on them and provide them. But if you buy a bull from us 5 years ago, you tell me the year, I can tell you the bloodlines. And we keep track of everybody. We've got 2 or 3 farms here lately. We want to buy from you. We want to keep a closed herd. Everybody's worried about buying from somewhere and bringing something in. And this afternoon, we've got a gentleman that come 2 years ago. Now we want to start doing business. We've seen your herd for years along the highway. We want to do business with you. And so we keep new bloodlines. We keep track of their bloodlines and try to tell him, this is what we would use on this line. This is what we'd use. And the boys know the bloodlines better than I do, when it comes to that. So, that's probably our goal. Maybe is building more relationships with our buyers. I don't know whether we can build a relationship or not with the guy in the Bahamas, but my wife sure wanted visitation rights in the wintertime. Yeah. So, I don't know whether we can do that, but that's kind of, I guess, my goal is, as my wife and I transform this to the boys, keep it together. Maybe Kraig's son didn't want to come back to the operation, but you can never take it out of the boy. The being around cows and dealing with people, and they can still have part of a purebred LLC that they can inherit someday and say, hey, I'm part of that. Mm-hmm. And to come back and kind of keep it going, just maybe build the operation and try to keep it going, I guess, is our goal in this building relationships with other people.
How are you keeping track? As you said, you're kind of monitoring what those customers are raising, what the bloodlines are. Is it pen and paper, an Excel sheet? Do you have a software? How are you keeping track of that?
Oh, I guess a little of both. I'm from the old school, so pen and paper, and files by the year, and we keep track. I know every once in a while we sit in, and we're in the process of getting a new Bulls, Beef, and Booze new flyer to send out. And I guess it's been amazing to me. Every time we send one out, we'll get several calls. People will bring that flyer. They'll come back with the old one, and they'll say, now, I bought one of the first cowboy bulls from you, and they'll show, this is the bull I bought from, And to me, I keep some information from other people. I know some places I'd like to go maybe look for the next herd bull. But for those people to come and to do that makes us feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to 3 or 4 different farm shows. We're going to a brand new one a year from now, 400 miles from home, and try to create a little more. There's fewer of us cattlemen every day, and as corn's at a low price now, and I feel sorry for the grain guys. It's kind of what the cattle people was in 5 or 6 years ago, when they were getting $8 for corn and 16 for beans. But the fences come out in Missouri whenever that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and those guys that drive the big combines, very few of them are cowboys, and they don't put the fences back in, and I guess my biggest worry in seeing this pass on down is the price of ground, and I don't care whether what kind of business you're in agriculture today, you cannot pay for this ground the price it is, and that's
what is range ground going for in Missouri in your area?
You hate to say, and I had a realtor call me this morning, and I said, "Is it still going up?" And he said, "Well, I'm seeing some places maybe they've reduced the price for a quick sale, or we'll do this or whatever." I would anywhere from range ground, cow ground, 5 to 7, 8,000, and we're lucky we're in a good area. That we can run a cow on 2 acres of ground, and especially when it rains, and that makes a lot of difference. But we're lucky. We're lucky we've got some good dirt. A lot of guys would love to pull the fences here and plow it, but not on my watch, not on Cody's watch, not on Colton's watch. They aren't, and then you want to know about the other 2 sons. They're all excited about it. No, Dad, don't sell anything. Yeah, Dad, if something comes up against us, we need to buy it. Yeah, but it's kind of bred into all of the 11 of us that are KKs.
What is communication like between your families, and how important has communication and having an open mind and listening to each other been and being successful, whether it's the cattle operation, having the open-mindedness of having a viticulture venture as well? What has that been like?
Did you say open-mindedness?
Well, I mean, I know.
Actually, just from my standpoint, my son and I have butted heads on a few things. Dad and I have butted heads on a few things. Kraig and I butted heads on a few things, on it. It's fun. It's still family. I saw Dad and Grandpa when I was younger. Dad would say, "Hey, let's try this," and Grandpa was, "No, this is the way we've always done it." Well, those words are the things that will probably kill any business, as we've always done it this way. Kraig bringing the wine in, that was a different deal that nobody saw coming. It's like starting out with your one head of cow, and she's going to have a heifer every year, and I'm going to save every heifer, and in 20 years, I'm going to have all these cattle, and you have one heifer, a dead cow, and a whole bunch of steers you've sold. It's about the way it starts. And he is allowed to bring more of an outlook that I guess I probably didn't see of farm, trying to make the farm into I'm going to try to call it a circus, but to educate people. At times it has been a circus. But, just trying to, another way for us to sell the beef deal. Dad and I had started, him and Grandpa had sold beef back in the mid to late 80s through a little local locker. People buying them, and I never dreamed it would have blown up the way it has for us. It's kind of been a godsend time, because it's just a way that we can kind of set a price on a premium on an off calf. And, I know Dad and Colton working cattle together has probably butted heads as much as my son and I work cattle together. Everything ought to be horseback. Well, sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Sometimes it works good.
And sometimes it works great.
My father didn't like the purebred end of it. He didn't really want to grow the operation much, but he would. You had the use of my machinery, you do everything, and we work together good that way. It's really worked good. We move a lot of meat through this winery. We have our meat sticks that's got our meat logo on it. We're going to a big wine fest this week. His son last year was there and sold $900 worth of meat sticks at this winery or at the wine fest, which is kind of unheard of, but always somebody's coming up and they'll pick up a flyer and we got a flyer for our beef and it brings all the family together on different things. That way, the Red Angus has been here twice. We've hosted them. We have a lot of different people come in here, use our meeting room at the winery. Kraig will cook our beef for them, and it really goes really well. So I guess when Brenda and I's gone, we're going to feel very comfortable that it's going to be continued on. And that's kind of what we've wanted, boys all get along good together, and we all disagree sometimes, and sometimes I'm told that's the hardest way of doing it. The other way would be easier, and once in a while they say, this don't work too bad. So and I see their ideas too, and as I get older, I let them do a little more of their ideas, and we argued on the phone one time. They were in Oklahoma and looking at a bull and everything looked good till they got down there and they didn't like him. And I liked him, all the pictures and everything. And we argued and argued and argued. And they come home with him and he's done us a good job, but I get a call about 10 minutes later and Kody says, I think there's a bull way on down the line that would do us some good. And he really did. So they bring two of them home. We use their ideas and my idea, and it all kind of worked together. But I guess we're at the end of the day, we're really blessed to have a family operation. Grandkids that just love to come to the farm and hey, Grandpa, what is there to do? So sometimes you have to pry them away from the telephones and the ball games and different things, but they're still there to help. Say, hey, that day we're doing this, they'll be here.
Yep. It kind of reminds me of what's that David Frizzell song? Gonna hire me a wino to decorate the farm. Now?
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, we don't have to hire them. The winos usually come. No, and I think again, it's all back to building a relationship with people. And we've got a lot of people that come here to this winery once a month, 3 times a year. We have a lot of people that just call us, hey, I want a half a beef in November. And they'll call me in February, and they never say the price. They just know we're going to be fair and they know we'll have it. And the best thing, they know it's going to be darn good. And we work with 2 or 3 family farms around here and trade back and forth. And it works out really well. If somebody needs some help in this area, it doesn't, a major deal or something, boy, you can get people in a hurry, in this part, and kind of like it was years ago, so.
Kraig, a question I have for you from the winery standpoint, how many people does it take to run that? How many folks do you employ? Is it part-time? What is that like?
Well, it really needs a staff of about 20 at a time, but we run it on 2 to 3 people usually. Myself and my girlfriend run most of the day-to-day operations. I do the winemaking and stuff. When we have events, we have a few part-time employees that come and help us. And then the rest of the family chips in. Kody's down here helping cook burgers if we're real busy or doing all that stuff. So we all work together, and my mother, his son, and then my brother's sons all come and help out on the farm as much as they can. So, and my kids, it's really the best part about having the winery on the farm is, with farming in general, whether it be raising crops or cattle, a lot of times the farmers, probably one of the most depressing part is once you sell the cow, you don't get to see them being enjoyed or consumed by whoever it is. You might get a call from them, you might get a picture of them the next spring and be like, hey, this was great, this worked. And that's affirming that you don't get to see people enjoy what you're doing at the winery. You can watch them actually consume the beef, you can see them consume the wine, you can see them consume the environment. I mean, all of us that grew up on the land here have really fond memories that we have when we see something. We get nostalgic about the way this fence looks or something, and that is stuff that people get to come out and see. And that's really one of the most rewarding things, is to actually see your product that you're producing on a farm in people's hands, enjoying it, laughing, having a good time. They don't get to see all the hard work behind it, but you get to see the fruits of your labor. And that is one of the best parts of it. It also helps keep us as tenants to the area a little bit more responsible and a little bit more up to that, like, hey, we probably need to weed this fence row because we got people coming to the winery, or we need, it keeps us a little bit more less lazy when it comes to cleaning up things and making the place look the way it's supposed to, whether it be putting a coat of white paint on a pipe fence for the cattle to stay in, or just keeping it mowed. It's things that we probably normally wouldn't do if we didn't have the traffic coming out to do that.
We've got a 120-year-old barn that's used every day, and it's taken care of. It's kind of a landmark in this area. My grandson uses it for his horses. We use it for hay. If I take a fat steer for you to a locker, he's going to come through that to be loaded. I mean, we use it all the time. You see so many that, you'd like to know the history and what was thought about that barn. It was right after the beam and peg era here. It is, but my grandfather did most of the sawing for it, and better than my skill sawing I do, but I mean, it's got the hay trolley and track. It's going to stay there too, and we keep it. Try to keep the family history and all. He would love to tie it in somehow to the winery, and we thought about doing some events and everything. It's a cattle barn, and
I don't want somebody saying congratulations and flicking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, at 2 a.m, there goes the barn.
And we've seen it get hit by lightning a couple of times. One of the things, Lane, I think is interesting on Kraig's bottles of wine. Of course, the Angus Red's got a cow on it, and it's he's got a Bible verse on every bottle of wine, and then on the back of it he lists whether it's sweet or not. And what I like about his Angus Red, I told him when Mom and I'll have to get this started, but we want a Red Angus wine or a bottle of wine with a cow on it. And he said he'd already thought about it. He says Angus Red sounds better for wine than Red Angus. Mm-hmm. And we've had it at some Black Angus sales. They featured this, and all over. We've had a lot of people take these bottles and take them home and put them on the shelf because they've got. But what I like about it, it says made from Missouri Norton grapes and aged in American oak barrels for 18 months. This red wine pairs great with beef, and especially with Red Angus cattle. And that was approved by the feds.
Really?
So I just thought that was kind of interesting, that it does. And I like all kinds of cows, all flavors of them. And I respect, got a lot of really good friends that's got whites and blacks and everything else,
Yep.
So, and I'm for I'm for all of them, So we're Red Angus breeders, so we're gonna push that.
Ken, what's it like rolling up your pants and taking your socks off and doing a wine stomp? Do we have footage of you ever stomping grapes like I Love Lucy?
You probably better hope I take my boots off. That's for the women to do. So now Saturday they will do this at the Wine Fest at Mountain City, Missouri. They do a great stomp, and they'll have several people doing that, and it's fun to watch midday. So
it's funny when we do grape stuff. All my life I've listened to what this man has to say to do and do this and do that. But when we do grapes, sometimes he has to listen to what I say that we need to do. But they've all helped. Harvest season for grapes is a busy time, and it's not. There's a lot less of a window for those, because when they're ready to go, they're ready to go, and you can't really put them off. And once you pick them, you got to start doing stuff. So it's a lot of long nights sometimes if you pick them earlier or later in the day, and then you got to stick with them. But that's one good quality of being raised on a farm, especially as a 5th, 6th generation farmer, is you learn things you don't stop until you get what needs to get done. And that's probably why I've had the majority of the success I've had with the wine, is because I was taught that at a young age. Mm-hmm. And it continues to be. It gets harder to do as you get older, but it's still something that's engraved. If something needs to get done, it needs to get done, and don't quit until it's done.
We buy some grapes too from 2 or 3 other different vineyards. I guess some of them come clear out of Iowa last year for one grape. It's kind of like breeding cows. You're looking for one certain thing to put in a new wine, and there's been 1 or 2 big wineries here in the Missouri call Kraig and say, hey, we just crushed yesterday. We've not started fermenting. Would you like 200 gallons to play with? See what you can do with our grapes. And we jump in the truck and take off and go get it, and it's kind of an honor for him or for me that they're asking my son for his opinion on that, So it's I guess one thing that really made me feel good, and I think in 2013 I went and testified to congressional subcommittee for NCBA, and when we took a tour of the building, I took a case of the Angus Red, and when we took a tour of the building, there was already one guy that had a bottle of our wine on his shelf, and because it had a cow on it. So some little things like that is pretty neat, and as you can probably see visiting with us, we all enjoy the winery. We all enjoy the cows. I know in another interview one time, Kraig told him that he would rather be kicked by a grape than a cow. So that's why he doesn't mess with grapes or mess with cows. I mean, he messes with grapes. So,
well, I've been kicked in the head by a bottle of wine a time or two and figured that out the next morning. If folks are interested in purchasing your wine, your beef, or your cattle genetics, guys, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, you got 3 different Facebook pages. You got KK Farms Meats. You've got KK Farms Red Angus Cattle, and you've got Windy Wine Facebook page. And there's a way of getting hold of the old man or the kids, So on that, and as far as the meats, we just locally they kind of advertise themselves, and we advertise. As far as the bulls, we've advertised in the Red Angus magazine for years and several other magazines, and the wine, I don't know how many high V's it's in the state of Missouri, a bunch, and if you have a good product, it advertise for yourself, and we took some bulls to South Missouri. This company had a brewery, and they'd tried the peanut butter and jelly wine at the Missouri State Fair. They knew us before we knew them, and on that. So I guarantee if you have a bad product, that's pretty bad advertisement. So, that's what we've done.
And you can order our wine off of our website, which is windywine.com, www.windywine.com. And there's a link on there to order wine, so we can ship to most states. It's through a third-party service, but we got that. And then we've shipped meat before, too.
Yeah.
The best way to do that is to contact the winery directly with the phone number on the website during our normal business hours, and we can figure out what we need to do to get that shipped. But we've shipped meat all the way to Washington, I think, maybe some up to New York. People buy a steak or a couple of steaks, and we packed it up and shipped it. So all those options are available through our website or by calling the store, too.
Well, again, a lot of opportunities, a lot of diversification, and, of course, drink responsibly, but eat beef irresponsibly. How about that? That could be your new slogan.
I always joked with them when they asked me how many of us is here, and I said, well, there's 3 of us boys. I run the cattle, Kraig runs the wine, and Casey's the sheriff. And they go, well, how's that work? And I said, well, Kraig gets them drunk, sells them a package of steak, and Casey pulls them over down the road, so it's a family affair.
Well, again, I've enjoyed our conversation here today, gentlemen, and maybe one day Sarah and I will go rolling through there in Missouri. I'll be in Montana. She'll go from Colorado, but I'm referring to Sarah Gregory. For those listening to the podcast, our executive producer of the podcast, who always organizes this, she did send me a text saying that she can vouch that the peanut butter and jelly wine was very, very good. So there you have it. 5-star.
Wonder how she got that. But we usually travel with wine, so we'll have some in Nashville in February. So
okay.
I might bring you a bottle of Angus Red so you can put up on your shelf.
Well, right when you walk into the trade show floor at the 2025 CattleCon, we will, in the mornings when the trade show opens, we're going to be podcasting live right there in the main entrance. So you can even interrupt a podcast, just come put it on the table there.
Do you want us to stumble and slosh, or do you want us to just...
that might be a good testimonial.
But I think Sarah and I had a good visit in San Antonio this year. We'd visited on the phone a time or two, and I took her some of the samples of wine, and he's really known for the peanut butter and jelly nationwide. Nationwide, we've got a lot of people comment on that. And how he come up with it, I don't know, but
I don't sleep.
Well, I better let y'all get back to your day. I know you got folks coming to look at cattle and probably a lot to do at the winery as well. But I want to thank all 3 of you for joining us here today.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
With that, friends, again, check out the Keesaman family, KK Farms, Red Angus, and, of course, the Windy Wine Company. At least I didn't say Windy Wine Company.
I don't know where they got the windy part,
but I want to thank you both for all 3 of us for joining us. And again, for those of us tuning in, thank you for joining us as well. Make sure and subscribe, share, and of course, answer the Cattleman's Call each time we put out an episode. That will do it for today. I'm Lane Northland. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to NCBA's Cattleman's Call podcast with Lane Nordland. For more information, visit ncba.org and make sure to subscribe to the podcast today.